Darren, we're seeing the challenges mount for Jim Chalmers ahead of his first budget. A week today, the latest, the human tragedy as well of thousands of people evacuated from their homes amid the flood crisis, but it has a flow-on effect to the bottom line and the inflationary challenge that Dr. Chalmers has to navigate.
No, that's very true, and I must admit I was talking to some people today, and the cost of getting builders to do anything from new homes to renovations anywhere on the eastern seaboard and probably anywhere else that has been affected by floods is skyrocketing. Cost of medical always rises at higher than inflation. We are in difficult economic times, and the bottom line will, take some form of damage as a result of that. So, look, it's a challenging time. The Treasurer has been very upfront about that, and we'll have to wait and see what the numbers are on budget night, but there's no point trying to avoid the fact that there are difficult times ahead for families, and we all just have to try and do our bit to get through the worst of it.
I've had people reach out to me, Fiona, as well, in Northern Victoria, dairy farmers having to throw out so much milk, for example. They can't get it into tankers. Roads are shut. It's going to have a flow-on impact. Of course, you've got that personal challenge and a very real human challenge for those farmers, but it's also as a flow-on effect to all of us in the grocery aisle too, Fiona.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, we saw this in New South Wales this year. But look, Kieran, I think there's a lot of questions, and maybe it's a little bit early to be asking this right now, but in particular, I mean, Dorothy McKellar was right to say that we're a land of droughts and flooding rains. We have bushfires. We are a natural disaster continent. It's what happens in the cycles of our country. And as you know, we look at the onset of climate change issues as well, that will, multiply those things. I think there's some questions to be asked about how, as a country, we rebuild, how we protect our agricultural sectors, what sort of things are rolled out. I mean, in some ways, I hate to say it, I hate that, to bell the cat on this sort of thing, but it shouldn't be that the Treasurer is saying in a week's time this is going to be the knock-on effect, because I think we need to start looking at what are going to be the remedies that the federal government will put forward. I mean, if you look just the last 3 or 4 years, we've had, this will be our third flooding summer. We had bushfires a couple of years before that, and then we had some droughts. So, I mean, the point here is that these sort of events are happening every year. These sort of events also mean, what are we doing to protect farmers in fires? What are we doing to protect farmers in floods? What are we doing through drought cycles? How are we actually going to protect all around this? And when we look at the last sort of floods, particularly in places like Lismore, what are we doing to actually protect those places or help rebuild those communities that are still being ravaged by it? What are we doing about the people who were bushfire inflicted on the south coast of New South Wales? There's a lot of work to be done here, and I just hope for the people who are in the Goulburn area that are seeing some of this stuff happening, that the experiences of the people in the south coast of New South Wales and places like Lismore are not repeated on them as well.